Welcome everybody. So it's your 26th health hack, and you're probably sitting here and you're like, who's this good looking guy to your right, Dr. Williams? Who is this? Well, this is the notorious and infamous Chris Lippe.
Man.
Okay? And if you're wondering who this guy is, he's what we call a functional nutritionist. And basically he's the guy that we have in our right corner, Dr. Tanya and I. And he supports us. So we don't really think that we're like arrogant and we know everything. There are doctors out there like that. They tend to lean on maybe the Western side of things, I like to think. But we don't think we know everything. So we always want to get second opinions when we do any type of plan on somebody or when we do any type of protocol on somebody. And that's where a guy like Chris comes in. So tonight what we're going to be talking about is that inflammation is everything. And really, if you've ever heard me have a conversation with anyone, and I know that Chris totally agrees with me on this, we're always talking about chemical, physical, emotional stresses,
right,
and the impact of that on your physiology, how that changes and alters your physiology. So what we're going to be discussing tonight is one product in particular that we found that really changes the physiology of the body. And it's a product called turmeric. And we're going to really delve into that, but I always think that sometimes to keep you guys from getting confused and kind of getting off track and thinking that we need lotions and potions and different things and duct tape on our body to like fix our physiology, it's important to talk about what allows us to heal. And that is what? Right here. A working nervous system, our brain and spinal cord. And so before we discuss turmeric, I just wanted to really make sure that you guys are anchored on what's allowing your body to heal. It's not how many pills we take. It's not how many shots of wheatgrass we did or the fact we did a downward dog and a backward cow, right? All that stuff is great, but it doesn't really allow us to heal. What allows us to heal, and I know Mr. Lippe here totally agrees with me, is a functioning, working nervous system. I mean, we can go as far back as Dr. B.J. Palmer, 1895, when this beautiful profession of what we call chiropractic was founded. So we want the brain to be able to communicate with the spinal cord, send those signals out to the organs, and then what we want is an organ to be able to assimilate those nutrients, make new tissue cells. And that's where we get into the conversation of nutrition. I like to better call it subluxation support. Yeah. So it's a secondary thing, right, Chris?
That's good. I like that. Subluxation support. You know, and you started to hit on something I think really important for everyone to really understand is that nerve impulse. When it gets to that tissue, whether it be the liver, the spleen, whatever organ in the body, it has to be able to receive that impulse, right? And you do that by having good nutrition in their body. So that's that supportive side of it. So I think that's a great point you were starting to make there.
Love that. And, you know, when I first met Chris way back when, you know, it was awesome because right off the bat we really hit it off because he really understands that, really advising holistic doctors in multiple different scopes and professions. You know, it's really cool because, you know, when you talk to somebody like this, they understand what it is that truly heals the body. And now we bring in these other things to really accelerate the process and prevent people from taking medications or unwanted surgeries and things of that nature.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, you know, is to do everything you can that's right. You know, make sure that you're getting checked, you're getting adjusted, so you're getting into the proper nerve function in the body, that we drink plenty of good, clean, clear water. Beautiful. You know, super important to be hydrated. That we eat good quality foods, organic, you know, locally grown if possible. Those are the things that really kind of come together, getting good sleep at night. There's all this stuff, and it seems pretty simple, but we kind of forget about it. And, you know, that's why so many people have thriving practices like you do, is got to come in to take care of it, get reminded, work on these things, and just do all of that together, because that's that chiropractic lifestyle.
Awesome. I love that. I love how you said that, because it really is a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
I mean, once you let somebody know what subluxation is and how debilitating it can be for the nervous system, then you have to at some point go to, what are we doing outside of the office? Or what are we not doing?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think so many times there's a lot of docs on both sides of the aisle, the Western side and the holistic side, that don't really look at, okay, what are the chemical, physical, emotional factors going on with this patient? Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you said that about nutrition in particular, you know, the organic foods that we're getting. And, you know, I was thinking earlier today, you know, it dawned on me that, I mean, I just wonder what the nutritional percentages that we're getting out of our food now versus, let's say, 50 years ago.
You know what? There's some studies out there, Rutgers University, Harvard, they've done some studies on that.
Yeah.
But more important than really anything is to look at, in these last several years, that the topsoil in our country is being decimated by the chemicals that are getting put on it. And, have just met with someone, I don't recall her name now, but she was talking about how many harvests are actually left out there if we don't change the way that we conduct our farming and really take care of this Mother Earth. And so I don't go too far down rabbit holes with that kind of stuff, but we have to take care of the quality of the land that we're putting our seeds in, so that we get good quality food to nourish our bodies. Otherwise, literally, we're going to be trying to put synthetic plastic foods in us, and that could be the end of things.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. Especially the research part of that, because I know so many times, most of us, we think that research is like Wikipedia and Google and somebody said this and all that. So when you get somebody like Chris that's really sharing the research like we do on these health hacks, I think it's really empowering for the patients out there and the people out there, because then they can say, okay, hey, look at this video. They're actually quoting research. This is what's really happening out there. Now, what do we need to do to really add years to our life and life to our years, right?
Yeah, right.
Because, I think you would agree, so many people to kind of supplement the foods that, maybe they're eating organic, right?
Right.
Maybe they're getting the good water and they're getting the sleep and the things that you're talking about, but there's something always missing from that because of the soil issue and because of all the carcinogens and toxic environment that we live in. And so many times, I know me, for years, before I became a doctor and went to school for 10 years and 360 grand or whatever it was, right? Still paying that one off, right? It's like, I remember going to GNC, going to Vitamin Shop, taking these supplements and what I now call subluxation support, and I would take them and then nothing would happen.
Yeah.
Or I would take them and then, maybe I'd feel better for a day, but then I would go back to the way that I was, and I would just keep buying them, and then nothing really changed. So I kind of thought, well, this whole holistic natural thing doesn't really work.
Yeah. Man, there's just so much bad information out there, and you can go to one of those shops and buy some stuff, or these big box stores, and all it really does is, maybe change your urine a different color, as opposed to really nourishing your body. So you want to get things that are, as close to whole food as possible. So you're getting the energy from the sun, you're getting the vitamins, the nutrients from the soil. It's a really pretty simple process that, God gave us this, and we need to sit and take a look at that and go, let's eat stuff that's growing, in the ground right by our feet.
I love that.
So I think that's it's really important to do that. Now tonight we want to talk a little bit about inflammation and kind of the impact of that. So maybe you could talk a little bit about inflammation and subluxation and adjustments, because inflammation is such a big term out there right now.
Yeah, for sure.
But from a chiropractic standpoint, talk a little bit about inflammation and the adjustment.
Yeah, I would love to. Absolutely. So what you've heard me talk about before, and I know you guys have seen this on other health hacks, is you think about the uptake of cortisol. And cortisol is one of those terms that I really put, I use it with a real negative connotation, because obviously we need a certain amount of cortisol in our body for our body to work right, but we can kind of get to that tipping point where we start to get too much and we exhaust our adrenal glands and we start to get a lot of emotional stress in our body. And you can start to see patients, and I think you would agree with this, where you get somebody that they're stressed out about money, they're stressed out about finances, they're stressed out about their job, and they've got forward head posture, and they've been in multiple car wrecks, and they're on 2 medications, and then you get them in the office, and we start doing our protocols on them and just to evaluate them, and we see there's major dysfunction going on in the body.
Yeah.
And they can always make the connection between what they're feeling
Sure.
and what's going on symptomatically, but they can't make the connection if they're not feeling anything, that there could still be some inflammatory processes inside their body because of years of that stress and never resolving it.
Absolutely. And the way you're describing it is perfect, that it can be, almost getting into a car wreck, right?
Yeah.
Or it could be a telephone call that you get where there's something unnerving. It can be thoughts that you have.
Absolutely.
And the limbic system steps in and goes, man, what's going on here? Something's haywire. And our body senses that. The hypothalamus gland senses that. It kind of, someone once told me it's like a periscope that's kind of looking out, and
Absolutely.
it senses things that are going on, and then it brings in those signals. And then it says, oh my gosh, hey, we've got something going on here. And it starts to signal through a hormone reaction to the pituitary gland, ACTH gets released, well then cortisol goes up. And that's where that whole cascade, starts to fall apart for people.
Thanks for sharing that.
So we need to be able to work on, controlling the stress in our lives, getting good sleep, drinking plenty of water, making sure you're in and getting checked so your nervous system's functioning right. And then there's the food component, eating those right anti-inflammatory type foods. Ginger, blueberries, lots of vegetables, all that kind of stuff is super important. You mentioned, turmeric. And of course, that's really important, and we want to talk a little bit about a product, which will only be a minute or two, but those anti-inflammatory foods are really important to eat. So, like I said, ginger is wonderful to eat, get that into your body. Almost any of the berries is really important as well. So, anyways, I think that's kind of what people go through out there on a day-to-day basis. Driving on, the 5 freeway here in Southern California, and it started raining on my way driving over here tonight. And California rains like, oh man, we're in
apocalypse,
trouble, right?
Everybody slows down.
So,
oh my God, it's raining.
Slamming on your brakes, and the stress level goes up, and you see cell phones flying in the car. And,
everybody's reaching for them then.
But so you got to maintain that stress. It's really important to do that. Taking time away, taking your weekends off, getting those vacations in, all that stuff is so important.
Absolutely. And just to touch on something that Chris said just a second ago, when he talked about the limbic system, that is the emotional center of your body. So that's where that kind of connection comes in. But yeah, inflammatory stress, you can't say enough about it. The 3 kind of pronged approach that you really have to attack that: chemical, physical, and emotional. And, Chris and I were talking the other day, and we were really talking about, with all that inflammatory stress, what types of things are people doing from a nutritional standpoint to combat that? We said organic food, we said good water, we said getting sleep, but what's the next thing that I need to do? That's the foundation of the house, but what do I need to do to make sure that that foundation of that house has a really nice roof, to make sure that it can sustain all the different snow pellets that come, the tornadoes, the earthquakes, the mudslides, whatever, right? That's where subluxation support comes in. And there was a talk I did probably on a health hack, I don't know, maybe it was 3 months ago, something like that, where I talked about that I thought Catalin by Standard Process was one of the most effective kind of multi-nutrients out there.
Yeah.
And I talked about how Livoplex was another one, kind of one of those disease preventers or inflammation preventers out there.
Yeah.
And I also talked about some type of adrenal support. But today I want to add one to that list, and this is where I'm constantly learning from this guy. I know when he was talking about the HPA access, hypothalamus, all that, I know you guys were totally following, and you're thinking this guy doesn't know anything. I obviously say that sarcastically. So the product that we want to add is really a product called Turmeric Forte. And I know you have a wealth of knowledge about it, and I saw you really get emotional the other day when you were telling me about it, and it really moved me, and now my family's going to be taking it all the time, every day. And I just wanted you to share with our viewers a little bit about that product, if you don't mind.
Yeah, just to touch on, you had mentioned, some adrenal support.
Yeah.
Really important, because your adrenals are kind of that stress, organ that we need to take care of and nourish and feed. So there's some great things that you have that you recommend.
Thanks.
Drenamine and adrenal tonic, et cetera, that are really good for that. But on Turmeric Forte, this is a new product developed by Medier, a company out of Australia. Standard Process is a distributor here in the United States for it. And here's what's unique about this product. And the reason, he mentioned getting emotional. Whenever there's something out there that I think is a game changer in health, I get excited about it. I've got 2, kids, a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. And if I can do something to further their life, I know that, baby Cordy's like a year old, whole life ahead of him, right?
Absolutely.
So with that, if you can start to learn these little things that you can do, that's what I want my legacy to be, is to be able to extend their life, and then they pass it on to someone else and we learn more. Well, this product I think is one of those that I will take the rest of my life. I've sent it to my daughter away at college so that she can take it every day. And it's unique in this, is that we hear about turmeric out there all the time. It's in all the health food stores. It's everything you see online, on TV, et cetera. They all talk about it. But there is a difference. People talk about turmeric that you put on your food. When you ingest that, most of it starts to get absorbed in your intestines, right? Yeah. But the problem is, as soon as it moves to go through that barrier into the bloodstream, at that point it gets conjugated and out of the body it goes.
Wow.
So there's not really a whole lot of benefit. There's a little bit,
Yeah.
You have to eat a lot of it. The next step is, how do you make it more bioavailable? And then if it's more bioavailable, it becomes more bioactive. The difference there is just being available or active is how it's utilized in the body.
Wow.
So this new product has turmeric in it, but then also they paired it with fenugreek seed, specifically the fiber of fenugreek seed. I'm not going to say the big long name, but it's GCM or GCM. I think it's GCM is the initials that kind of abbreviate it. And with that, what it does is it kind of pairs with the turmeric and it shepherds it across those barriers, so it can get into the bloodstream without being conjugated.
Okay.
Passes into the bloodstream, then it goes to the liver. As it's processed in the liver, it again goes through the liver at a very high percentage, close to 74%.
Wow.
At that point, studies have been done, and it's shown that it's still bioactive in 5 tissues that they sampled: the brain, the spleen, the liver, the kidneys, and the heart, and it's still active there. So,
That's awesome.
Amazing product. And what it's doing is, everyone out there with inflammation, the thing to think about is, you don't want to just get rid of inflammation, because we need to have inflammatory responses. You want to modulate things, and that's what this product does. Is it starts to modulate it, but then also has the resolution factor at the back end of it. So it's this perfect product to take every day, just to kind of keep things in balance as far as inflammation goes. It doesn't mean you can take a pill and not eat right. You still can't go running down to fast food and fill yourself with a bunch of junk. But it is a terrific product. I know you've got some here at the office, and it pairs really well with all of the other things we've been talking about: sleep, hydration, getting adjusted, all of those things.
I just wanted to add one thing, and if you're watching the clock and we're at 13 minutes, relax, because this is worth. We're staying on, okay? It's worth staying on. Really quickly, I just wanted to ask
How long is this supposed to be?
It's supposed to be 10 minutes, but we always go over. They know I'm like a liar related to that anyway, so we just do our best. Sorry, guys. Usually we start late. This was the first time we haven't started late in a while. Cut us a break, okay? We love you. At any rate, so when we talk about Turmeric Forte and we talk about that 74% that's higher for it to basically stay in the body, compared to the other competitors out there, some of the synthetic companies. Can you recall the research on that you could share with them?
Yes. So curcuminoids, which is the active ingredient of turmeric, when it's just taken in turmeric, like in a spice that you put on your food, you have to get a lot of that to get it to go through. Wow. The next best that becomes bioavailable is, and everyone talks about this, is black pepper.
Wow.
You have to have like a gram of black pepper to increase just by about 16 to 18% of that bioavailability. Wow. So, and with that, a gram is like a lot. I mean, I don't know that your food would taste that good if you were using it in there. Yeah. So there's a lot of companies that use that. This next step is pairing it with a very specific fiber from fenugreek. Okay. And that's where you're getting that higher percentage. Okay, awesome. So it's really pretty cool. The CGM technology of, actually literally pairing it, and it's not just that you take the fenugreek with the turmeric, because you can go and buy those two together. It's actually this process of embedding the turmeric into the fiber, so that when it goes through those barriers in the body, it actually gets through, or it gets shepherded through those barriers. Okay. So that's what kind of makes it unique.
Beautiful. And I don't know if you mentioned this process. Did you talk about the vacuum sealing that goes on?
Yeah, this process is almost like an impregnation that happens, and it's through this high pressure vacuum is how they do that. So it's not like a super high heat process, which a lot of people would necessarily think that that's how you're going to pair the two together. But they're using pressure instead of heat to do that. So again, terrific product. I think your practice members are going to love this product. And I mean, I've heard things already from some people just about how they feel a little bit better about it. They've got clearer thinking, things like that. That's not necessarily anything that's really subscribed to that they talk about. Yeah. But I think you'll notice that kind of stuff. And then just over time, some of the aches and pains might go away, sort of different things. So. Well, guys,
we really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Just to recap, we're not saying anything about nutrition, that's the only way or the only thing that you need to do. We know that the only thing that you need to do is get that neurology rocked, get that brain connected to your spinal cord so those nerves can access those organs. But then in addition to that, what we want to do to just prevent this inflammation that Chris and I have been talking about for the last few minutes is let's do our 49 breaths. Let's do our breathing. Let's connect with our Creator. Let's pray, let's meditate, right? Yeah. Let's do our NET, right? Let's get those specific scientific corrective cervical adjustments. Let's make sure we're trying as much as we can when we learn something that we use that information to take action. We drink that water that's from the earth. It's spring water. We don't want anything with chlorine or formaldehyde or anything like that. We're getting our sleep. And we do these nutrients and we eat these nutrients, but then we say, you know what? I'm only getting 50% of the nutrients I once was. So how about some support, some subluxation support to really up my game so I don't have to be in false evidence appearing real or fear that I'm going to get some crazy disorder or condition. I can just prevent it by actively saying I'm taking ownership of my health, right? This is all about prevention and really taking the steps to be responsible. So
true, man. I like that prevention side. And again, I know we're getting yanked off here, right?
Yeah, we're on the yank sign. Stop, right? We're getting the red sign right now.
But the prevention side, so important. This is not about, hey, I've got something, now fix it. That's that Western way of looking at things. And this is about, let's live that chiropractic lifestyle.
Love it.
And really kind of go forward and be healthy, express life, express ourselves. And we do that by prevention. So do all these things now instead of waiting. And
love it.
Cool.
Well, tune in for next week. I just want to thank Chris Lippe for his time tonight. Chris is always a wealth of knowledge. In the future, I would love to have you on more.
Cool.
Because this is awesome. I know I always learn a lot whenever I'm around you, and I know they're learning a lot.
Cordy's sidekick, just kind of sitting here like an ornament hanging out for a little bit.
What am I going to do with this guy? What am I going to do with it? At any rate, we appreciate you tuning in. Make sure that you sign up for the Advanced Healthcare class on March 14th. It's going to be on this neurological type of stretching we do, this resistance type of stretching we do, and we're going to talk about how that's another support that you can use in addition to this subluxation support, eating right, the emotional stress, but most importantly, getting that brainstem cleared. That's going to be 7 p.m. March 14th. That's on a Wednesday. All right, so make sure you're bringing your friends, family members, neighbors, tell them about it. Let's plant seeds in them right now so they can transform their life and start transforming the other people in their community's lives too. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, okay? Take care.